Hello, America. Dave Hodges here, host of the Common Sense Show. We are the show that is freeing America, one enslaved mind at a time. We're about defending God, family, country, and those that are oppressed. And right now, when you look at this story we're going to cover, we're looking at each other and we are the ones who are oppressed. And so we all need to rise up and we need to stop what is going on. There's a lot we can say about data centers, and I could really go to the hilt with my spiritual beliefs, with scripture. We're going to hold off on that for right now. We're going to deal with just the secular, practical issues. And they're enough that it should motivate you to action to oppose data centers at any cost. Oh, and by the way, saying that you're opposed to data centers now makes you a terrorist. And that's by an act of Congress. Well, let's all become terrorists because these things are not working in our best interest. Let's talk about data centers in this report. We'll talk about the lies. We'll talk about the fact that we know how they're lying. And then we'll talk about what they're really after. And more importantly, what we can do to stop it. You know who's involved in this now? It's really interesting. Do you remember the movie about Erin Brockovich, that brave lady that shut down illicit corporations that were poisoning water? Do you remember that? Yeah, great movie, right? She is involved. She's got a website. Part two will cover that. All right, let's get into it. We'll tell you, first of all, we're brought to you by 7702. What's that? That's the IRS code that allows you to take obscure IRS codes, perfectly legal, above board, very ethical, and the rich and famous have done it to turn hundreds of thousands into millions. You can have a similar increase in income, perfectly legal, has a lot to do with IULs, end of life care insurance, and so forth. And then you borrow off of that and you just make all kinds of money, and it's tax free. They don't want you to know this. But Joe Lombardi has cracked the secrets. And just to put your mind at ease, he's never had a Better Business Bureau complaint, A plus rating. He's never lost a dime of clients' money, and he can help you. You want to know if this will work for you? And they'll tell you in the first few minutes, no pressure, because they don't want to waste time on people that they know they can't help. But what they'll often do is say, hey, I'm sorry, we can't help you, but here's something you might want to think about doing. This is awesome, people. This is really the opportunity of a lifetime. Ironhawk Financial is the company. Joe Lombardi is the principal. I'm lucky enough to be really one of their key representatives because I believe in what they do. All you got to do to find out more is go to dhawk.com. That's dhawk.com. Put in your contact information. They'll be in touch with you. Now, keep in mind, this is not a short process. Once you're in, they have to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, and obey all the federal regulations. But you could come out the other side better than anything else. And here's the good news. In this volatile economy, this is it's recession proof. All right, let's take a look more at where we started. There are 5,000 data centers in America today. That is more than 10 times than any other country on the face of the earth. But we're being told we got to do this because it's the way to fight against China. We have to win the AI war against China. China's not even in the neighborhood of this. They're not even remotely close, and it's not true. We're being fed a bunch of bull crap. It's a lie, and we're going to expose it. By the way, there are 3,000 data centers right now under construction. They're moving towards 30 data centers in the early 2030s. 30,000 data centers, 6 times more than we have now. Now, me, here, APS, Arizona People Stealing from Us, our utility company, our utility bills went up 17%. Why? To support the data centers. Thank you very much. Glad we could make millionaires, billionaires at our expense. It's polluting our water. The sound pollution's terrible. Land use is given preference to them. They get roads built even before they're done constructing, where people who need roads that are the actual taxpayers not getting tax breaks are left without. But it gets worse. It's not enough that they want data centers everywhere. Now they want to put them in your yard. If you're old enough to remember, the cable companies would come into your yard, dig it up, lay down the cable. A lot of people didn't like that. If they repaired the lawn properly, it really brought you better entertainment. This is not the case. They want to put these data centers in. It looks like a large air conditioning unit, and boom, they just plop it down in your front yard. Now, they've been doing it in Pulte home rentals. Yes, that's right. Bill Pulte. Mm-hmm. Same guy, same company. He is now the director of national intelligence. Wait a minute, wait a minute. They tell us this is for competing with China. It's national security. And the guy that their owner that they're using to bring this in has been put in charge with no experience whatsoever in intel. He's put in charge of DNI, Director of National Intelligence. And you're going to learn that their intelligence is not directed outwardly at China. We're going to tell you how we know it's directed at you. It's the Patriot Act 1 and 2 on steroids. But it gets worse. It gets worse. They're not just doing it with rentals on homes. Do you remember, those of you who've been with me longer than, say, 15 years, you remember a former State Department employee named Monica Weslowski. Remember Monica? And we had to help her with a personal situation and abuse of government. And we raised some money to get her lawyer so she could carry on the fight. Well, she contacted me and she said, Dave, they're trying to put these devices in our front yards. And she's a homeowner. She and her husband, they're homeowners. Not only that, they're doing it to the neighbors. Now they rose up, they made big stink, and they got the powers that be to back off. By the way, that just makes her a terrorist now, and we'll explain more of that later. But it's not just the data centers. They now want to bring it to a home near you because you are the target for their national security interests. What? Well, we'll explain that before we finish. Let's continue on. Um, I just laugh in amazement how really dumb we are. These data centers aren't profitable, but they don't care. Let me read to you some profit margins right now, okay? Microsoft, their investment in data centers, 9% loss. Meta, 28% loss. Google, 15% loss. Oracle, Larry Ellison, 35% loss. Whoa. The only company barely treading water is Amazon. But this is not about profit. This is about control. And they're willing to lose money to gain more control because that'll mean more money exponentially down the road. That too will tie it all together at the end. Larry Ellison is quoted as saying, the data centers are important, and he tells you why. I'm sure the government's unhappy with him because he let the cat out of the bag. Here's what he said. Data centers and the surveillance that goes with them will, quote, make people be on their best behavior. So he's telling you right there, this is designed to be an intimidation device. You're going to be on your best behavior because you know you're being watched. He just told you what they're for. They're not about competing with China. It was never about competing with China. It's about watching you. Now, let me give you a little history about movements of protest. In the 60s, the government did illegal things to spy on people. Some of that came out during the Ellsberg papers. There's other ways that we found out too. And then as we move forward with the wars in the Middle East, we had all internet traffic surveilled for protesters. And then protesters were kind of centralized. They would coagulate together. act in some unison, and they were a threat to the powers that be and their agenda. Here's the problem. Today, anyone that has an electronic device is a potential protester and can say things out there that the powers that be don't want said. Maybe that's why they want to put data centers in everybody's yard and big data centers to measure it. And again, they're losing money on this. So money is not the objective. National security is not the objective because one of the biggest investors, second richest man in the world, Larry Ellison, said, you'll be on your best behavior if you know you're being watched. Watched by who? By the data centers. This is called the police state surveillance grid. This is what this is about. Now let's continue on. Trump has said we're going to win the AI race. It's about national security, but it's not about China. As I said, it's about you. Stay tuned with that idea. We're coming there. Um, I'm looking here at my notes, and I'm going to bring you to a bigger level conclusion. A lot of you, and rightly so, are concerned about Section 224 of the 2027 version of the National Defense Authorization Act. Now, there's good news and bad news. The bad news we'll get to in a second. The good news, it hasn't passed yet. But it's being hidden because it's in the middle of a 3,000-page bill. So most Congress people aren't going to read it. Well, is that a good bill? Yeah, hey, sign that off and I'll support your highway funds in your state. This is how it's going to get done. Now, what this does is it marries Israel's military with us at the intel and high-tech levels. And the spying that the centers are going to do on you is going to be reported back to Israel. And we have some clues as to what's going on here. For example, I was very critical of Netanyahu and his war crimes he committed in Gaza. Charlie Kirk called it out before his death. He said Netanyahu's a war criminal. He was, still is. That kind of statement is being bantied about in Congress to try to make any, quote, anti-Semitic comments to be illegal, to actually be a terrorist act. Well, I don't think anyone said anything about Jewish people. We were talking about criminal leadership and his henchmen that carried out senseless, brutal murders, like starving kids, bombing elementary schools, and using the excuse Hamas had headquarters underneath. Good, bomb them during the day or nighttime when the kids aren't there. That wasn't the objective. But saying that will soon be illegal, and that data information along that line of thinking goes straight back to Israel with the merger of the two militaries in the ways that I've described in the National Defense Authorization Act. And in case you didn't hear me, that would be in Section 224. You can Google it. You can read the proposal. They won't vote on it until after the election because a couple things are happening. One, the U.S. is turned off to Israel. They're warmongers. Their government, a bunch of warmongers. They've sabotaged the memorandum of understanding with Iran, the potential peace agreement, by doing what they're doing in Lebanon. They're antagonizing Iran because what's Israel's goal? The Greater Israel Project, which is control of the Middle East. Huckabee defined it very well for Tucker Carlson in an interview. So we have a real issue here right now where you are basically going to be subservient to the will of Israel and your First and Fourth Amendments, right? Freedom of speech, freedom against unreasonable search and seizure, but everything you say and do and write and so forth, every keystroke is going to be measured and it's going to go to Israel because of this NDAA provision. And you may hear that siren in the background. Perhaps they're coming to get me. And by the way, before you people out there who are part of the Zionist lobby, support TPUSA with millions of dollars and you chastise Charlie and blah, blah. Okay, now pretending you didn't do it. Um, Let me tell you something. Before you label me as anti-Semitic, which I'm not, I'm talking politics and military strategy and national security. Um, Again, on my dad's side of the family, my grandmother's maiden name was Freiberg. So you can stuff that anti-Semitic stuff. I think we need to deal with the constitutional violations of law that are going on right now. But there's more. The data centers that are going up, you'll see the names Meta, Amazon, all these names, all of them. It looks like the who's who in high tech. But wait a minute, they have formed a public-private partnership with the national security state, the CIA, the FBI, ONI, and Bill Pulte. What? You heard me. This is called a public-private partnership where it's fascist, really, because it merges business and government, and that's illegal under our system. And also, too, not only is it illegal, it's fascist. It's the definition of fascism. This is where we're going. And those of you that are concerned that soon you won't be able to criticize the leaders of a foreign country, and I don't care if these people are from the planet Mars, if they were Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish, Christian, um, I don't care. If they're violating the national interests of Americans and violating the Constitution, they should be called out. Doesn't matter what their demographics are, but the demographics are what they're hiding behind to avoid criticism. And why do they have to spy on you? Here comes the punchline. Why are they spending all this money at a great loss? Because where they're taking the world, they know you're going to oppose it, and they're worried. So they need to know who's naughty and who's nice. First of all, they're going to eliminate most of your jobs. At least that's what they tell you. And I think when they tell you that, you should believe them. They want to take 90% of all jobs. That's the common figure that you hear. Even if it's 50% of all jobs, that's the end of capitalism because capitalism is based on a consumer economy. Well, what are we going to go to? State-dependent socialism, universal basic income. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. We'll pay you. How much will you pay us? What level will we be living at? Will we be living one step above the homeless on the street? Or will we have a middle class lifestyle like what we're losing now? I don't think so. And will you support all of us? Or are you selectively going to deal with many who don't fit your need because your data profiles say, oh, they're naughty. These people over here will get the UBI, Universal Basic Income. You people over here have been critical, lobbied against us, organized protests. You're done. It's the old Plymouth Colony example of banishing people, which was a death sentence. You've committed heresy. Get out of the colony. It's the middle of winter. Doesn't matter. These people often died of exposure. It was a death sentence. Let your imagination run wild. Do you think these people are really on your side? They're coming in, driving up your water and electric rates. The noise pollution's off the charts. The thermal heating's terrible. So much for worrying about global warming because the data centers are doing it. And you've seen the documentaries on social media about this. Scientists studying this. And the constant hum and noise you get from these centers is bad for your central nervous system. These people are harming you already. And they're taking your jobs, and they're taking your constitutional rights. Where will they stop? Will they go to the next level? I would answer the question this way. Rewatch the show 1984, or read the book 1984, and then you'll be equipped to answer that question. Do you think I'm overdoing it? Do you think this is an overblown threat? Are you concerned like I am? Well, we haven't even gotten into the scriptural references that apply very strongly to what we're doing today, particularly in the book of Matthew, particularly in a book more than anything, the book of Revelation. We need to do a show on that. And once you see, hey, the Bible foretold all this, and it told you where it's going. What do you think the culmination point is? I think the culmination point is the mark of the beast, tribulation. But we'll deal with that. This was just for the secular at heart. And you should be concerned. And if you're a Christian, you're going to want to see what we do in part two, where this is devastating. I'm Dave Hodges. Pray for help. Pray for discernment. Pray that we become virtuous enough as a country that we invite God's favor and he turns this around. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here again next time.